Om Ganana Ganapatikum Mavamahe Kavim Kavinam Umashravastam Jeshtaradjam Brahmanam Brahmanaspada Anashvanmugasi Sadhanam Shivaha Ganapadaye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Birvajinivati Dina Mavitrevatu Maha Saraswati Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Dasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Sarvalokanam Vijay Bhavaroginam Vidaye Sarva Vidyanam Shri Dakshinam Murtaye Namaha Gurujana Namaha Devi Vachavajanendra Deva Tam Vishwarupa Pasho Vadanti Sano Mandreshu Murjanduhana Dhenur Vagasmana Padishtaitu Vyasam Padishtanaptaram Shakte Patramakalmasham Parasharat Pajamande Shukadatam Taponidim Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanideye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Shiva Shakti Samarambam Bhaskaracharya Madhyamam Smashrinath Parjantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shri Lata Mahatripura Sundari Sameta Shri Chandramurishwaraya Namaha Shri Kanchi Kamakoti Pithadi Jagadguru Shri Shankaracharya Shri Charnayoho Pranamaha Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. So, as you can see, I'm in a different place today. So, obviously, I have not put my vibhuti and all. But we were starting with second Mundaka, second chapter. So before I start, I want to ask if there is any question so far on what you have heard, what you have learned. Have you been able to watch the YouTube videos, take notes, and is there any kind of questions that you have that you want answered?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was after we talked us about the 6 different philosophies,
Yes.
Nyaya and so on. Then I was reflecting that where do I stand, or what what am I focusing on? And I was confused whether if one can do like, for example, Upanishad and Sri Vidya, or is it
Yeah.
one path?
You have to stick to just one path. It's impossible to focus on everything. But that doesn't mean that, if you, for example, let's say there was a time when me and Vidya, we had the luxury of spending early morning time where I would say that we were able to do Vedic rituals. We were into Sri Vidya Upasana and we also did yoga. But to be very honest with you, when we are talking of doing things, all of us keep doing pujas and other things. It's not something very new, right? Here, when the explanation is being given, it is for people to say, okay, now you have developed an overview of all of these things, but now you are serious about your attempt at moksha. Like you want to take your life far more seriously from the point of view of moksha, liberation. Then you choose a given path and stick to it. Just like, if when we study in India, we study from kindergarten all the way to higher secondary. Up to secondary school certifications, we study everything: physics, chemistry, maths, biology, everything. At secondary school, you're asked to make a choice. Okay, you want to go pursue the medicine type of thing, then you take physics, chemistry, and biology. If you want to do engineering, you don't need to focus so much on biology, just do physics, chemistry, maths. So you start then branching out. In engineering, we don't study biology. In medicine, they don't study physics and engineering, right? So once the basic awareness is created, then it is up to you to make a choice. Okay, now I believe that I can do this, so I will pursue this path. Does it answer your question?
So here Advaita and Devi Upasana are different paths, you're saying?
No, they are not. She's asking about the schools of philosophy like Sankhya, Nyaya, Yoga, Vaisheshika. Yeah.
But Kundevi Devi Upasak, does that fall under Advaita or under
Advaita. All of those things are Advaita.
Sri Vidya is the same as Advaita?
You'd consider that as a Vedanta school of philosophy. That is good enough for you. Another form called Siddhanta, which is different. You take it as Vedanta. Yeah.
So Sri Vidya falls under Advaita Vedanta.
Simple system is believe in the Advaita philosophy, take that path, and move forward.
But with Advaita, it's more like that from a sea, that type of that. Brahma and we and Brahma, same Brahma and I am.
Correct.
But the path doesn't really, does it talk about mantras and chants, the Sri Vidya aspect?
It does. Yes, it does. Again, see, when you take philosophy, I actually wanted to go into a little bit of detail on that today, but since you asked the question, we will focus on that right now. Let's take an example of this iPhone, which we keep talking about. I keep giving an example of iPhone, right? You see this as iPhone, you believe this is real. Correct? So there are certain schools of philosophy that doesn't believe that this iPhone is a net product of the creation from Brahman. So the source where it is starting from, that is where the differences are. Okay, so let me go back and say, if you're taking the example of Advaita, in Advaita we are talking of Niguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, Saguna Brahman. That is how we started, correct? So if you go to Dvaita and Visishtadvaita, they don't focus on Nirguna Brahman. For them, Ishvara is the beginning, the starting, Saguna Brahman. So for them, Brahman is full of infinite attributes. They don't say that it is without attributes. They say it's infinite attributes. It's just the same thing saying in a different way. Right? So as long as you are going in that path, you don't need to worry about the philosophy. In Sri Vidya Upasana, where everything is being considered as inward worship, discovering the God within yourself. The philosophy then states that deals with the aspect of once you discover it, how the merging happens. Whereas Sri Vidya Upasana is a tool or a method by which you discover God within yourself. Am I making sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yes, so we don't need to worry about after we die whether we are going to merge with the Nirguna Brahman or not. We don't have to worry about it. That doesn't restrict you to follow a certain approach of discovering yourself. In the yoga school, they say you don't need to do anything in terms of chanting. They don't believe in that chanting principle. They don't believe in that Vedic as a text, as a superior text to everything. According to them, with the various asanas and the breathing, the pranayamam, you will be able to reach God. That liberation aspect is achieved through just exercises, asana and pranayama. So it's a tool that you use ultimately to get the liberation part. Not clear yet?
No, I do understand it logically what you're saying, but now
Let me give a very simple another layman's example. Layman's example. We are all talking of that we have to eat something to stay healthy and alive. Whether we eat pav bhaji, whether we eat methi paratha, it doesn't matter. Correct? So one is how to prepare methi paratha. You learn all the rituals, all the techniques, all the recipes, so that you have that food, then you consume it. But what happens after consumption is something that you don't need to worry about when you're focusing on whether you have to eat methi paratha or pav bhaji. Right? If you go to the north, they will say without wheat we cannot live. If you go to south, they'll say without rice we cannot live. So the means of survival, the source of energy, the belief system could be different. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe what I can think of is I can try to put it in a kind of a graphic chart or something like that, which will help you. If it is still not clear, just don't worry about the philosophy system. You just focus on the Mundaka Upanishad explanations, understand one principle, and then you can think of the other schools of philosophy. This is one of the reasons why I never got into philosophy in depth, because it is too big and too vast. And the different interpretations of different acharyas can get really confusing. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get to the mantra, a few of the mantra. I wanted to share a couple of principles, and I will see how better I can address your question, maybe even offline during the week. Okay, good. I'm glad you brought that question up. Any other question from anybody else? Okay. So second Mundaka, avihi sannihitam guhacharan nama mahat padamatrait tat samarpitam. Avihi sannihitam guhacharan nama mahat padamatrai samarpitam. Ejat pranan nimishaccha yadetajjanatha sada sadvarenya param vijnanadyad varishtham prajanam. Ejat pranan nimishaccha yadetajjanatha sada sadvarenya param vijnanadyad varishtham prajanam. The literal meaning here is avihi means self-luminous. Luminous means bright, right? Self-luminous. Sannihitam means seated. Guha charat means moving in the cavity of the heart. Nama means that which is known, who is known. Mahat means great. Padam is the support. Anna reference again is here in that Brahman. Yat what? Ejat is moving. Pranat breathing. Nimishat is winking. You wink your eyes, right? Close and open. Samarpitam means fixed. Janatha means no. K-N-O-W. Sat is effect. Asat is cause. So this Sat Asat is something that I would like to dwell a little bit more in detail and explain to you. Varenyam, to be wished for. To be wished for. Varishtham, the highest. Prajanam means of being. Vijnanat param means beyond intellect. Vijnanat param means beyond intellect. So the literal meaning, if you summarize, it is the self-luminous Brahman is seated in the cavity of the heart and is known as moving there. Moving there means there is a source or is a great support, and in him is fixed all, meaning anything that moves, anything that breathes, anything that winks. And sage Angiras is telling Shaunaka, know this, which is both the cause and the effect, Sat and the Asat. You know this. The focus is about knowing Brahman, right? Which is dearest to all and which is the highest. Means there is nothing beyond Brahman. It's absolute truth. And it is beyond the intellect of all beings. Go back to the definition that I've given of experience, which requires mind, intellect, chitta, ahankara, right? And the five senses, five tanmatras. This is beyond all that, which is realization. So, when you say, I know, how did we arrive at that I know?
From experience.
Correct. So, go backwards. For experience, what are all the key essential requirements?
Knowledge and wisdom.
Don't go to the wisdom part of it. No, don't go with the literal meaning. Sorry? No. Ah. Yeah, that is all good interpretation from the dictionary meaning. I'm saying now stick to the structure that I have given you, right? We started from the outward. We have the five Panchabhutas, Panchatanmatras. They are constantly recording. That is stored in the chit, which is the memory bank. These images are not stored without any consequence. The mind has got the manas, the intellect, right, and the ahankara. So the intellect is what keeps reading these impressions and results in conclusions. And that conclusions are stored or what we say as experience. Am I making sense? So don't lose sight of that simplistic definition that I've given you. Right? So a very simplistic example that I can give you is you made parathas or you made some item which has got chilies in that. Or let's say upma. From the same batch, somebody ate it. It was the top part of the upma from the vessel. They will have a taste where they must have felt there is not enough salt. Somebody else could have taken a piece of the same batch and there would have been a chili piece that was left in that batch. So they took a bite of the chili. Their experience will be different. And maybe somebody who got from the bottom where the salt is still there, not mixed, they may come across and say, oh no, this upma means it is salty. It's a very funny experience, a way of explaining things, but what I'm trying to say is you will associate something as an experience collectively. Let's say now all of this happened in a room which is very hot. You will remember that particular incident, including the temperature of the room in which you were seated and having this upma. So it's not just that aspect of taste. It is also this other sensory organs that records things by which you say whether your experience was good or bad. You draw conclusions based on the recordings of all the sensory organs, not just the one of tongue. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So, if you now summarize this, you're talking of anything that you think is knowledge, which is based on intellect. That is the essential component in this. Rest are all source of data, right? Here, sage Angiras is trying to explain to Shaunaka that Brahman is beyond the intellect. So it is unknowable, unknown. You don't know it. You only can realize it. It is beyond the limitations of sensory organs. Does it make sense? See, I'm asking the question again and again. We are back to the sensory organs in every 2 seconds, right? Does it make sense? So, when you say Aham Brahmasmi is what the crux in Shruti, that is the scriptures, right? So you can only realize that. You cannot say, I know. Is it getting a little complicated now? Let me give you one more way of like how Sri Adi Shankara had explained the same shloka. That will probably give you some more ideas. So the meaning of this shloka as given by Adi Shankaracharya is this bright, well fixed, moving in the heart, that which is formless, which is sought by everybody beyond the reach of man's knowledge, and is considered as the highest of all. So again, Adi Shankara goes back to Akshara, which is formless. Avihi means bright, shining, as the recipient of sound. So when it says recipient of sound, it means it shines through the conditions of speech. So when I just say in writing, there is no sound. It does not give it any kind of characteristics. But when I speak, I attach sound to it. It shines through the conditions of speech. So the reference is again to the Brahman that is seen in the heart of all living beings, appearing with the attributes of seeing, hearing, thinking, knowing, etc., which are all depending on the sensory organs. So he says Brahman is seated in the heart, and Guha Charan is because it moves in the cavity in every mode of seeing, hearing. That means Brahman is the source through which we are able to see, we are able to hear, we are able to talk, we are able to sense, we are able to smell. So the effect of Brahman seated in the cavity of the heart is experienced through all the sensory organs that is functioning. Make sense? It is considered great because it is above everything else, the highest. There's nothing beyond Brahman.
here if you say the Brahman sitting in the heart means there is a life force that we can consider.
Sorry?
Sitting in the heart, the Brahman means the life force, that prana.
Yes, I'm coming to that. Yes.
It's not the same what you're saying, the Brahman and the thing.
I'm coming to that. We are referring to prana, apana, vyana, udana, everything. Those are the various elements or components of Brahman.
So is the mind in the cave of the heart? Cavity of the heart. Is the mind in the cavity of the heart?
We are talking of, don't associate everything to physical. That means then you are now diluting the whole form of the subtle form of the body, the karana sharira, everything. If you restrict yourself to saying, okay, now you show me, you physically, I have to imagine where it is, I need to know the shape, the color of it, that is not the way to understand Brahman. That is the whole purpose of Mundaka Upanishad. That is the whole essence of Mundaka Upanishad. Right? You understand that there is a force which is Brahman seated in the cavity of the heart. Seated in the cavity of the heart means doesn't necessarily means physically that heart as an organ. It is here as a central force. Producing its effect in everything that we see, hear, smell, taste, etc. So don't try to nail it down to a physical organ called heart, because then your next question can come is whether it is the right ventricle or left ventricle. Right? That is something that you need to avoid. That's the whole explanation. That is what you keep hearing. Does it make sense? Sonalji is not happy with the answer. She'll say, no. You tell me then.
This is where the mind is then.
No, don't associate all of this, the subtle part of the whole equation, into a physical location. These are two different aspects. Yes, that is all I'm trying to say. For you and I, it does not matter where the mind is, whether it is in my head, hair, forehead, back head, it doesn't matter. All you need to know is that you have a mind. Emotion. Can you say my emotion is in my right hand or left hand? It doesn't have a physical location. Here, the cavity of the heart means it is all pervasive within your body. It's from the center it goes to show its effect in all parts of the body. Right? So, what is prana? Is it Brahman? No, it's a part of Brahman. What is apana? Part of Brahman. Vyana? Part of Brahman. Udana? Part of Brahman. So, if it helps you to imagine everything physically, you can say it is a multi-headed attribute. Right? If I ask you, if I show your right hand and say, is it Sonalji? What will be your answer? You'll say yes. Right? Your right eye, is it Sonalji? Yes. Left ear? Yes. Because ultimately Sonalji is all of that put together. Does it help?
Yes.
So I can't answer a question and say, oh, Sonalji is in right eye or left eye, or is in right ear or left ear. No, it's all put together as Sonalji, one component. So same way, imagine Brahman as the concept is prana, is vyana, is udana. We are talking of that force that you cannot see, that you cannot touch, that you cannot smell, that you cannot hear. It's beyond the scope of all the sensory organs. That is what we are repeatedly learning in the last few mantras. Padmaja, does it make sense? Okay. So imagine it like a hub and spoke. So the hub is Brahman, the spoke is prana, vyana, udana, samana, through which you are able to see the cause and effect. So Ejat means moving. Ejat means moving. So how does the bird move? Again, the source is Brahman. How do you wink your eyes? Source is Brahman. How do you breathe? Source is Brahman. Okay? So here, in a simple way, Sat and Asat. Again, it is going to be a slightly complex topic to understand. I will try to simplify as much as possible. I told you that I'm holding an iPhone in my hand, correct? Sat means that which is true, Asat means not true, or Sat means real, Asat means unreal. Literary meaning of the words, correct? So if I tell you I'm holding an iPhone in my hand, what will you say? Is it real or unreal? Real. Because today you are operating within the limitations of those sensory organs. You are able to touch it, you are able to see it, you are able to use it, so you will say it is real. The essence is, if let us say that you are an elevated soul, you have reached self realization. At that time, will you say it is real or unreal?
Let's say it's an illusion. Maybe you will tell it is a Maya.
Correct. So what you think is real, and which is because of your limitations and binding of your sensory organs through which you operate your normal life, when you reach the state of self realization, you will see what you thought is real is actually unreal. It doesn't exist. This is an illusion. That is the whole fundamental aspect of whatever we believe in our Hinduism, right? All of this is Maya. I'm a little concerned because all of you are giving me a blank stare, so I'm a little concerned whether I'm helping you or I'm confusing you even more.
I believe it will be a very realized soul. If you show us the iPhone and ask what it is, it will still remain iPhone. I mean, I think
No, the point is when you have achieved self-realization, you will not see any of these things. Remember those things that you will feel like you're going through the forest. You will see the light equal to 1,000 lights of sun. So, okay, let me put it this way. If I put a brightness of a light which is equal to 1,000 sunlight, do you still think that you'll be able to see the iPhone?
maybe that will blur it.
It's not blurred. It will cease to exist.
Brightness will kind of.
It will cease to exist. That is the point that is being made. That you have to come out of this limitations of the sensory organs to achieve self-realization. Brahman can only be realized, it cannot be experienced. You cannot touch and feel Brahman and say, okay, now I can see Brahman, I can feel Brahman. Does it make sense? No. There is a traffic jam today.
Actually, it makes sense. And the thing is, it makes sense, but then we know that we are not going to reach that state. And why
Digressing from the meaning of this, let us just spend a couple of minutes. Why do you believe and why are you so confident that you're not going to reach there?
Now you feel that you require some certain characteristics which I'm obviously not having, and maybe will not even try to acquire.
But how do you know that you don't have the ability to acquire or you will not acquire? You don't know the future, right?
Yeah, but right now I'm happy with what I am. So
I'll give a very simple personal example. I never thought I'll be in the US, right? The fact is, I'm in the US. How did it happen? You take some action, right? If I don't take action of saying, okay, I want to go, I will get the visa, required visa, I'll get the job that I need, I will go to the airport, go through the process of screening and security, sit in the plane. Only then I can come, na? Sitting in the comforts of my Mumbai home, I cannot reach US just by doing nothing. Correct?
So that's the same thing, no? But that I'm telling that you're not doing anything specific to go beyond what I am right now.
So the knowledge you acquire is because you make a choice. So let us say that you got now today knowledge about that yoga is one way of attaining liberation. If you are serious about liberation, you at least know the path. After knowing the path, if you say, no, anyway, I'm not going to attain liberation, why waste money in yoga? Then you will not get liberation. As simple as that. You will come through one more cycle of birth. But the cycle of birth is also not infinite. I am a lazy bum. Let me keep coming back as a human being. Well, there's no guarantee. You may come back as a dog or as an earthworm. You don't know. You'll keep rotating in that same cycle forever. No, it is not an infinite amount. We understand there is maximum 7 rebirths. That's it. So, first aspect that we need to learn whenever we are trying to get into spirituality is that don't believe that you are controlling everything. We live in that false belief that I created this iPhone, I buy a ticket, I am going and sitting in that flight. Unless you have the humility to say, you will not be able to get out of this cycle. If you go back to the videos, the early part of Mundaka Upanishad, probably you have forgotten, it is time for a revision there, is explaining that. If you just stick to the lower Paravidya and Aparavidya, is Aparavidya is I created everything, I am great, I have achieved everything, I am the boss. That means you will never progress beyond that. If you want to get to the higher level knowledge, you are spending time. Week after week, you are spending 1 hour to understand every mantra. You have to believe it. Then your question is, okay, now I believe it. What do I do? You have to do. So then that upasana is a means or a tool to achieve that path. Am I making sense? So you don't enter a race by saying, oh, okay, anyway, I'm not going to win. I'll just keep doing 2, 3 rounds and then I'll come out. Why come out? Just run and finish the race. You don't sit and control your destiny. That is what it means. That you don't control your destiny means karmanyeva adhikara. You go any word, Bhagavad Gita, everywhere the message is the same. You keep doing what you're supposed to do with full sincerity, commitment, and honesty. The results will translate on its own. You went to work to earn money, correct? Did you go to a job only after a guarantee that you'll buy a home like this? Give me an honest answer now. Don't feel shy. Did you ever put a condition that I'll go to a job and earn money only if I know that I can buy the home? No. Your mom and dad told you that, better you go to a job and keep earning, otherwise you cannot survive. So, as you earned, as you put in more effort, as you grew, you made more money, you could think of a bigger home or multiple homes. It translated into various other benefits, but unless you put that effort, the results will never come, is what the bottom line is. So, in my opinion, humble opinion, you should never think that, anyway, I'm not going to get liberation, so why am I talking about all these things? Do your upasana with sincerity, no? That's all you are expected to do. All this information and knowledge is for you to say which path should I take. If I have to go from Mulund to Airoli, what should I do? You put in an effort to take a knowledge of where the physical locations of these places are. What are the roads that are connecting it? Whether you want to go by cycle, by auto rickshaw or taxi or your car or bus or train, you make a choice and you know from which place to which place you have to go. You will never sit saying in Mulund that anyway I'm not going to reach Airoli, so why am I getting out of the house? That is not helpful at all. Do you agree, Padmaja? Sonalji? She's struggling with the phone orientation.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Can I ask like a deviated question?
Yes, absolutely.
More we gather the information
Yeah.
and what transform
Mm-hmm.
is an indication, is it true or false, that an indication of the fact that you are transforming? One, like for example, with me, I don't feel like meeting with other people. I rather just read and study and try to understand. And I'm starting to be like antisocial. And then I feel, oh, is it because I'm trying to transform, or is it because I'm just taking easily out or being lazy to
Okay.
interact with people?
Let me do one thing. I will stop the used YouTube recording, right? Because we may discuss certain personal things. I don't think it is important for us to have that on YouTube. So I'll just stop the recording. Is it okay?